Today is not an ordinary day. Today is the day. The day everything changes, the day you, with all the hidden fire in your soul, stand tall, look into the eyes of the one who has drained your life for years and declare with unwavering determination, enough. This is not the time you fall. This is not the moment you give in to pressure. On the contrary, this is the moment you raise your banner, not to fight them, but to break the invisible chains that have bound you for far too long. This is the day you reclaim your life, piece by piece, breath by breath. If you've ever felt drained, every drop of your life energy, every shred of self-worth, every tiny glimmer of hope, then this is not just a video. This is the wake-up call meant for you. If you've ever asked yourself why you were never good enough, why you had to give everything, sacrifice so much, while they kept demanding more, then stop for a moment. Take a deep breath. Listen. You are not alone, and you are not weak. You are a super empath, a deeply sensitive soul with a capacity for empathy that goes beyond the ordinary, and at the same time, you possess an inner strength that a narcissist can never understand. So join me on this journey. We will dig deep into the complex relationship between the super empath and the narcissist, from the subtle manipulations, the hidden psychological wounds, to the moment you realize you don't need them to survive. This will not be an easy journey, but I promise you, it will be the most worthwhile journey you've ever taken. Are you ready to discover the day the super empath leaves the narcissist? The day you find true freedom? Let's begin. The day of reckoning doesn't arrive with sirens blaring or blinding lights from above. It slips quietly into your mind, a calm yet powerful silence, when you, with the unique sensitivity of a super empath, realize a simple truth that shakes your entire inner world. You are not the problem. They, the narcissist, are the source of the chaos. This is the moment you stop blaming yourself. You stop wondering if you could have done something differently, loved harder, sacrificed more to change them. This is the day you understand that nothing you do will ever be enough to fill the bottomless void inside them, because that void was never your fault to begin with. A super empath is a rare psychological phenomenon. You don't just feel others' pain, you have an almost supernatural ability to step into their shoes, to understand them even when they can't understand themselves. This makes you a warm flame, a light that draws people close for comfort. But to a narcissist, you're more than light. You are fuel, the substance they need to inflate their fragile ego. They don't love you for who you are. They love you for what you give. Constant attention, endless validation, and sometimes your limitless tolerance for their manipulation. A narcissist, in their psychological nature, is a machine built to extract energy from others. They lack the ability to generate internal confidence or self-worth, the very thing a healthy soul can cultivate naturally. Instead, they rely on you, the super empath, to reflect back the perfect image they want to see of themselves. You become the mirror, the lifeline, the sacrificial offering in a game they never want to end. But this isn't out of hatred. They do it because they can't live without someone to control. It's the only way they know how to survive. So what brings you to the day of reckoning? It's when you begin to notice the imbalance in this relationship. Ask yourself, have you ever felt like you were giving everything, your time, your energy, your emotions, but receiving nothing in return but scraps of affection? Have you ever caught yourself completely drained while they seem to grow stronger from your sacrifice? That's the first signal, a whisper from deep within that something is off, that you are trapped in a cycle with no exit. Next comes the raw truth. The narcissist cannot change, not because they don't want to, but because they are incapable. They are stuck in a vicious loop of grandiosity and insecurity, a psychological paradox researchers call narcissistic injury. Every time you try to help them, every time you bend to keep the peace, you unknowingly feed their manipulative engine. But with your sensitivity, you feel it. You sense the injustice, the emptiness, and eventually the exhaustion. That's when the day of reckoning begins to take shape, not as a sudden event, but as a slow awakening, a gradual opening of your eyes to reality. The day of reckoning is the day you stop apologizing for existing. You stop believing you have to fix them or that you must stay to save them. You realize that your kindness, the very thing they've ruthlessly exploited, is not your weakness, it is your power. A power they will never touch, because to hold it, they would need to know how to truly love, something their ego will never allow. And once you understand that, a sense of freedom begins to settle into your soul, not full freedom, not yet, but the seed of it, ready to take root. Picture that moment. You stand in front of the mirror, look into your own eyes, and for the first time in what feels like forever, you don't see someone who has to prove their worth. You see someone who is worthy of happiness, of peace, of a life free from manipulation. That's when you say to yourself, I deserve better, not in anger, not in bitterness, but in a quiet, unwavering certainty. From that point on, everything starts to shift. The day of reckoning isn't just a day. It's a turning point, a declaration, a sacred milestone that says you will no longer live in their shadow. But awareness is only the first step. Leaving, truly leaving, is a long, grueling journey. It's a psychological battle that pits you not only against the narcissist, but also against parts of yourself. This is not a leap into the light. This is a struggle. A fight to break free from their grip, to rise above the scars they've left on your soul, and to declare that you have the right to live without manipulation. And to fully understand this journey, we need to look deeper into how the narcissist reacts when you begin to pull away. When you set boundaries, when you start saying no, the narcissist doesn't stay still. They can't. In psychology, this is explained by the concept of supply dependency. You are their primary source of emotional fuel, the person who keeps their illusion of perfection alive. When you withdraw, they experience a kind of internal crisis, a state that experts call narcissistic collapse. They cannot tolerate the idea that they're no longer the center of your universe, so they launch every weapon in their arsenal to pull you back in. First, they use gaslighting, a subtle form of manipulation designed to distort your reality. They'll say things like, "You're overreacting," or "I never did that." You're imagining it. The goal isn't to convince you they're right, it's to make you question your own judgment. When you stop trusting your perception, you become easier to control. This is how they keep you spinning, by making you feel like you can't trust yourself. Then, when gaslighting fails, they shift to love bombing. They come back with sweet words, tender gestures, promises of a better future. But this isn't real love. It's a calculated performance meant to play on your empathy. They know that you, as a super empath, crave connection, crave sincerity. They exploit that to draw you back in. But if you look closely, you'll sense the hollowness behind their words. It's not transformation, it's desperation, the panic of someone trying to keep their supply. And when both of those tactics fall short, they play the victim. They cry, they plead, they turn you into the villain in their story. "After everything I've done for you, this is how you treat me?" they'll say, in their most tragic tone. This is how they trigger your guilt, a powerful lever, especially for super empaths who always want to do the right thing, who want to help and heal. But here's what you must remember. You are not responsible for their happiness. You are not their savior. They chose this way of living, and you cannot change that. This battle is not just about facing them. It's about facing yourself, your old self, the version of you that believed you couldn't survive without them. The narcissist planted that seed in your mind, that you need them, that you're weak, that you'll crumble without their presence. This is a form of emotional programming. They trained you to depend on their validation, to tie your worth to their approval. Leaving means breaking that programming, thread by thread, lie by lie. So where does the power of the super empath come into play in this battle? It lies in your heightened awareness. You don't just feel their pain. You see the truth behind their actions. You see the insecurity beneath their fake confidence, the emptiness behind their promises, the fragility beneath their control. And that very sensitivity, the thing they once used against you, becomes the key to your freedom. You don't leave just because you want to. You leave because you finally understand that staying would destroy who you truly are. When you walk away, they will panic, they will scream. They will try to make you feel guilty. But here's what I want you to remember. That is not love. That is the cry of a crumbling ego. They cannot survive without someone to manipulate, but you can survive without them. You don't need their permission to exist. You don't need their apology, their approval, or their understanding. You take back your power, one small step, one bold decision at a time, and you do it not because you're weak, but because you found the fire within you, the fire they could never extinguish. And then the day comes, the day of victory, the day when everything you've fought for, everything you've sacrificed, everything you've endured, finally crystallizes into one defining moment. The day you walk through that door, not with hesitation, not with fear, but with a quiet, fierce resolve, like a mountain standing firm against the storm. You close the door behind you, and this time, you don't look back. This is not a small step or a random act. This is a milestone, a life-altering moment, a declaration that you have chosen, not someone else, not them, but yourself. You choose life, you choose freedom, you choose a path where no manipulator can follow. But hold on, pause for just a second and truly understand this. This is not a selfish act, no matter how much the narcissist tries to make you believe it is. This isn't about shirking responsibility or avoiding hardship. No, this is a declaration written in blood, sweat, and the tears you've shed while imprisoned in that toxic relationship. In American culture, we honor the value of the individual, of independence, of the right to live authentically. And this day, the day you close that door, is your declaration of independence. It's not written on paper, not signed in ink, but engraved into your soul by your unwavering will. No one, not a manipulator, not an inflated ego, has the right to keep you trapped, to imprison your spirit, or to dictate your worth. Not for another second. So what happens when you leave? Picture this scene. The door closes, the latch clicks, not loudly, but loud enough to mark an ending. To the narcissist, this isn't just a moment they can brush off. They don't vanish into the night like a ghost. They don't accept defeat with grace or maturity. Instead, they spiral into inner chaos, a mental storm they can't control. Psychologists call it loss of supply, a deep shock to their already fragile mental system. You, the super empath, were not just another person in their life. You were the main source of energy, the flame that kept their illusion of perfection burning. When you walk away, they're faced with a void, a gaping black hole they don't know how to fill, and so they react, not with clarity, but with desperation. They will try to pull you back, not because they love you, but because they need you to keep existing in the only way they know how. Think about it. The long, emotional messages start flooding in, sugary words mixed with guilt trips, veiled threats dressed as concern. They might call you in the middle of the night, voice trembling, trying to awaken your guilt, or they'll stage a pitiful scene, crying, pleading, painting you as the villain in a story they've crafted to protect their crumbling ego. But here's the truth you must hold on to. This is not love. This is not remorse. This is not a desire to change. This is the wailing of a collapsing ego, a soul that doesn't know how to exist without someone to control, to blame, or to feed its hollow pride. But now, shift your focus to you, because you are the center of this story. The day you close that door is not just the day you leave them. It's so much more. It's the day you are reborn, not simply as a fresh start, but in a profound way, a process of self-reconstruction that psychologists often describe in people who emerge from trauma and find themselves again. You haven't just survived the darkness, you have emerged from it with a new strength, a new resilience, a version of yourself you might have never known existed. You don't just survive, you thrive. You thrive not just to get by, but to live, fully and unapologetically. You become living proof that compassion, the very thing they once exploited and saw as weakness, is in fact your greatest strength. A flame no one can extinguish, and the most beautiful part? You don't need revenge. You don't need to go back to prove them wrong. You don't need to lower yourself to drag them down. Why? Because the sweetest victory isn't in hurting them. It's in living well, living true to yourself, living with all the power you've always held inside but hadn't yet discovered. Imagine that feeling. Not a fleeting moment, but a new state of being. No more inner voices echoing blame. No more long nights replaying what did I do wrong. No more feeling trapped in the web they spun to keep you tethered. Instead, what do you feel? Freedom. Not the shallow kind that shows up in cliché slogans, but real freedom. Deep personal liberation that rises from the core of your soul. The freedom to be yourself. Not the version they wanted, not a shadow of who you were, but your full, radiant self. The freedom to love without fear, to dream without limits, to live without their criticism or control. This is what the narcissist will never understand, can never understand. They thought they controlled you, that they held the strings, but they were wrong. They may have manipulated your behavior for a time, may have made you doubt yourself, but they never touched your spirit. They never dimmed your inner flame, and now that the door is shut, that flame burns brighter than ever. So pause, feel it, picture yourself on the other side of that door. No more desperate knocking, no more manipulative echoes in your mind. You stand there, take a deep breath, and for the first time in a long time, you feel peace. Not because you beat them, but because you've conquered the fear within you, broken the invisible chains they used to bind you. The day of victory is the day you realize you don't need them to feel worthy. You don't need their validation to know who you are, their presence to feel whole, or anything from them to walk your own path. You are enough. No, you are more than enough. You are a force of nature, a resilient soul who emerged from the deepest dark to find the most brilliant light. And that light, it didn't come from others' praise, society's approval, or the narcissist's recognition. It came from you. From the sensitivity you once feared was a burden. From the compassion you worried made you weak. From the inner power you discovered through every wound, every battle. The day of victory is not just the end of an old chapter. It's the opening of a new one where you are the author, the main character, and the one who defines the story. And as you stand there on the other side of the door, one final truth settles in your heart. This victory is not about them. It's not about what they'll become, what they'll do, or what they'll think. It's about you, about the choice you made to rise, to walk away, and to live. The narcissist may continue with their shattered ego, may seek another source to replace you, but that's no longer your concern. You are free, not just from them, but from every limitation they tried to place on you. The day of victory is the day you declare to the world, and more importantly to yourself, that you will bow no longer. And from that moment on, everything truly begins. Today is the day you stop running. Today is the day you rise, not for revenge, not to prove anything to them, but to live, truly live, with all the strength you've always carried within you. You are not alone on this journey. Millions have walked through that door, have faced the darkness of the narcissist, and have found the light on the other side. If they could do it, so can you. I want you to do something right now. Pull, take a deep breath, and say to yourself, I am strong enough. Say it out loud. Feel every word. Because you are stronger than they ever believed, and stronger than you may have ever realized. And if you're not ready to leave yet, if you're still tangled in those invisible threads pulling you back, then just start with one small step. Believe that you deserve a better life. Believe that you have the right to be happy, to be at peace, to be free. Share your story in the comments below. It doesn't have to be everything, just a sentence, a word, anything to let the world know that the super empath does not back down. You are part of something bigger now. A movement of resilient souls who refuse to be defined by those who tried to break them. You are living proof that sensitivity is not a weakness, but the greatest strength there is. The day the super empath walks away from the narcissist is not the end, it is the beginning. The day you take back your life, the day you declare to the world that you will bow no longer. Start now, start with you, and never look back.